It is the perfect distillation of exactly who Donald Trump is. Stupid and confident about it. And this should go without saying, but if any very, very small children or those who have never seen a computer before still believe that the MS-13 on Garcia's hand is real, here's a photo from El Salvadoran dictator Nayib Bukele's own Twitter account from just a couple of weeks back showing Garcia's hand with no MS-13 tattoo. So either Kilmar Abrego Garcia got an MS-13 tattoo and then had it professionally removed during his time at CICOT, the max security El Salvadoran gulag, or Trump is a moron. Take all the time you need with that one. What's craziest though is that Trump's already tried this conspiracy theory before and no one bothered to correct him? Weeks ago, he took to Twitter writing, "This is the hand of the man the Democrats feel should be brought back to the United States because he is such a fine and innocent person. They said he is not a member of MS-13, even though he's got MS-13 tattooed onto his knuckles, and two highly respected courts found that he was a member of MS-13, beat up his wife, etc. I was elected to take bad people out of the United States, among other things. I must be allowed to do my job, make America great again." And then he posted this photo of Abrego Garcia's hand, again, showing 4 symbols and MS-13 above them. Now, clearly, the MS-13 was added as a way for Donald Trump to be able to interpret the symbols that he's being told represent MS-13. He is just so dim that he couldn't tell that those were added after the fact as identifiers, and this barely functioning light bulb thought that Garcia just blatantly had MS-13 tattooed onto his hand, and somehow no one before him had thought to mention it. My God, guys, the stupid, it hurts. But regardless, even without the blatantly typed letters, let's look at the symbols that are supposed to represent MS-13. A cannabis leaf, a smiley face, a cross, and a skull. Certainly seems spooky and mysterious. Only, small problem, there is literally zero indication whatsoever that any of those obscure symbols represent the gang MS-13. You want to know why? Because this is what members of MS-13 get tattooed onto them. They're not looking for cute little symbols to hide up the letters and numbers because they literally have no qualms about just writing MS-13. And sometimes it's really big. I don't know about you, but I'm not exactly seeing a whole lot of discretion and subtlety when it comes to the tattoo habits of these gang members. These guys aren't putting tiny bunny rabbits and pizza slices on their fingers. It is giant fucking letters and numbers that literally just say MS-13. In fact, Oscar Martinez, the author of the book The Hollywood Kid, The Violent Life and Violent Death of an MS-13 Hitman, took to Twitter and wrote, "I covered MS-13 for over a decade. Its history, crime, symbolism, cruelty, pacts with Salvadoran governments. I wrote a book about it. Never, ever did any of the hundreds of sources I spoke to say anything that would allow us to believe Trump's strange interpretation of tattoos." In other words, the actual tattoos of MS-13 gang members negate the theory being floated by Trump. Experts on MS-13 don't know what he's talking about, and of course all of this comes from a guy who is outright desperate to try and get some traction among the lies he's spewing as it relates to Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And if you don't believe me, just listen to Trump here.
As you know, the Supreme Court, after we get out all of the fake news from CNN and all these other people, we won that case 9-0. And basically that's really a decision that will be made by the government of El Salvador. Because that's where, I assume that's the one you're talking about.
Yes, he's from El Salvador.
Staying there, and he's from El Salvador. So that's a decision up to El Salvador. Okay. But it's interesting because we won that decision 9-0 in the Supreme Court. And if you listen to the news, you wouldn't know that.
Right.
You would really have no idea.
Fair enough.
So it's up to El Salvador.
Okay.
Trump says that he won the Supreme Court case 9-0, which is not true in that he lost the Supreme Court case 9-0. In other words, he is so desperate to give oxygen to literally any narrative he can find that he will outright rewrite history when it comes to a Supreme Court ruling, taking a victory lap over a unanimous loss. And when that doesn't work, he'll simply invent meaning to a weed plant tattoo to suggest that it's gang-related. If you've got a shopping bag with a smiley face on it because you just bought groceries, for example, do you get sent to El Salvador? How about cross it? When does Caroline Leavitt get deported? After all, let's not pretend that that cross is anything other than a clear and obvious gang sign. If all of this sounds really stupid, then you agree. This whole conspiracy theory is almost as dumb as the guy who fell for an even dumber conspiracy theory. So look, I know that I've made a lot of fun here, but in all seriousness, the fact that the President of the United States, the guy with the nuclear codes, cannot identify a picture with a Photoshop so basic it could have been done on a Windows 99 desktop should give us all serious pause. This is someone without the requisite tools or judgment to fulfill the duties of his job. And the people around him who are too afraid to tell him the truth are doing him and the rest of the country a disservice by allowing him to humiliate himself in front of the entire country and world. At this point, if one thing is clear, it is that the emperor has no clothes. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary.